And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the always pressing PGA DFS podcast. This week, we will be previewing the fourth major of the year, the final major of the year, the final time it'll be the last major of the year, the PGA Championship. But in order to do so, I will be joined by my co-host, as always. You can find him on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. Jesse, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good, dude. How are you?
I'm doing. It's a little warm here on the West Coast. There's fires everywhere. Thank God they're not too close to me, but I guess out of nowhere, one broke out about an hour south of us today because it got smokier than heck here. So fun times, fun
safe
times
out there, California peeps, and I guess there's a bunch in just all over the West.
Yeah, there's probably I think almost around 10 different fires in California, Northern California. For those 420 experts out there, Humboldt County has 3 massive ones going on. So some of them might not be too happy right about now.
Yeah,
not good. But we're here to talk golf and not firefighting. So hopefully they make it happen. But let's recap the Bridgestone real quick before we get into the big weekend we have ahead of us here. But JT, I kind of toyed with DraftKings, and I know many others did. It wasn't just me. About their pricing last week for the third-ranked golfer in the world and so on and so forth. And he looked amazing. We've talked about it time and time again. When JT is on, he is very, very, very good. And he showed it out there. The little bit I got to watch over the weekend, very little. He's out there talking with his caddy, throwing darts. Even the announcers made fun of it. They said there's the Bridgestone sign behind the green. He said aim for the B in Bridgestone, where the announcer's just aim for Bridgestone. It might be a good start. But he was so locked in. He was hitting everything he wanted. He was making pars or better. Looked really good. What are you thinking on JT taking down the Bridgestone?
Yeah, I mean, he was due. His obviously his form over the last couple of months hadn't been very good, but we talked about it last week about how he just shows up in these WGC events too, and he did play very well, especially Thursday and Friday, to get himself in position. And one thing I do want to mention on the WGC no cut events is, geez, there are some swings and some money there. I felt like I was in a really good position going in the weekend. I was in a really good position going in the weekend, and then just ended up breaking even. So that's really tilting.
Yeah, I feel you there, because I would have had, in theory, well, I guess I'm not going to finish that sentence now because there's only 73 golfers, so normal cut line, everyone makes it anyways. But I basically even par better going into the weekend. 6 guys looking pretty good, and then the weekend just trunk slam took place.
Yeah, there was some wild scores on the weekend, man. I mean, some guys surged, like DJ, 66, 64 on the weekend, but other guys just fell back. Like Fleetwood, he started really hot, fell back. So it's going to be interesting going into this week just to see how ownership plays out with some of these guys, and also too, just their kind of form coming in, because they've played a lot of golf over the last few weeks. Some big events, obviously the Open Championship just a few weeks ago. So a lot of travel, and it's a busy schedule. This is the busiest time of the year for the big guys in golf.
Yeah, and we're about to see why we had so many web.com tournaments earlier where guys were taking breaks, because after this, we got the playoffs coming up. They're going to be playing week in and week out, and you're going to see some wear and tear on some of these boys here pretty soon, like you're saying. So it'll be quite interesting to look at. Outside of that, I got not a ton on Bridgestone. Tiger still can't close on a Sunday. Kind of the same thing we've been talking about time and time again. Poulter choke job. DJ looked great. Rory, again, he keeps flying under the radar. People keep second guessing him. I keep second guessing him. But he's, finished tied for second or third at the British. T5 here. He's playing really, really good in these big fields. So he's right. He's right there, man. He's looking good too.
Yep, I agree. I mean, he just can't close it out on Sundays. It's 73 on Sundays, really bad. And it'd be interesting to see his ownership again. I mean, he's out, like we've talked about before, he's under-owned in all these events, and he was last week too.
Yeah, so we'll get to that here pretty soon. But before we do, what do you got for us at FanShare this week?
I'm working on some stuff. I haven't gotten anything over to them yet, but I'll be most likely focusing on the majors, past PGA events, and just the kind of lineup building in the Millie.
Cool, because if it's anything close to what you have for the British, it'll be very, very good stuff there to see how it all plays, and hopefully we don't have another duped lineup come into the Millie this week. But that's the way things are working these days. Let's talk some. Let me professionally say this. let's preview the PGA Championship this week, Jesse. What do you have for some past event history for the championship?
Yeah. So just like every major except for the Masters, this one moves around quite a bit. They have a semi-rotation, but I mean, there's a lot of the same golf courses in here, but there's no really method to their madness that I can figure out. But so course history obviously really isn't going to be any factor this week, but tournament history, I guess, would be Justin Thomas won last year. It was at Quail Hollow Country Club in Charlotte. It was 8 under for the week. Jimmy Walker was the 2016 champion. Jason Day was the 2015 champion. Rory McIlroy, 2014 champion. Duffner won it in 2013. And, Tiger's won this event 4 times. The last time that I can find that it was held at this golf course was in 1992. So it's Bellerive Country Club in St. Louis. And Nick Price was your champion then. I don't think he'll repeat this time, though.
No, I don't think he's got a chance there. And that was the last time the PGA Championship was held here at Bellerive Country Club. They did have the BMW Championship in 2008. It's a Robert Trent Jones design. It was redone by Reese Jones in 2005. It's an interesting course. Different scorecards. You can play the 70, a 71, or par 72. This tournament will be played at a par 70, going around 7,315 yards, give or take, depending on the layout for the day. So it'll be a pretty good-sized course for a par 70 coming in. It reminds me a bit like last week's, where it's really tree-lined fairways, a lot of trees on the course, a lot of accuracy there. You're going to hear the narrative shot shaping over and over again. You're going to want a good right-to-left shot because on 12 of the holes, you have dog legs to the left, which is pretty crazy when you think about it, because I believe there's 3 or 4 par 3s. So like 14 holes, 12 of them have dog legs to the left, which is pretty insane. You have a lot of bunkers in the fairway strategically placed to either make you lay up or really try to bomb it out there. And the farther out you try to bomb it, the narrower the fairway gets. So you have to be way more precise. And the rough is going to be very penal this week. Right now, it's very, very thick. They're talking of cutting it again, but it's so hot in St. Louis. That grass is going to grow so fast. It's very, very troublesome. So you want to be very, very accurate off the tee. You might have longer approach shots in, but that's okay, because at this golf course, they have some of the biggest, if not the biggest, greens you'll see on the PGA Tour, like 7,500 square feet of grass to putt on. It is absolutely insane. And it's been so hot there, it's burned down quite a bit. So they've let it grow out, and then they're going to cut it Wednesday to get the speed back up. So we'll see exactly how it plays. It'll kind of be a mix and match, but it's not going to be super easy, that's for sure. Lag putting will be at a premium, because even you're not going to want to look at his greens and regulation stats, because with greens that big, you still might be 80 feet from the hole. So you're going to have to be able to get it up there. You might see JT doing one of his chips off the green yet again, or Tiger like he did was it the British recently. So you're going to have to keep an eye on all that. The only other things, without getting hole by hole descriptions for you, around the greens, these big greens, there are bunkers there as well to kind of make you kind of work on your approach shots, and if anything, just kind of mess with your eye. It's definitely a course that has to fit the golfer's eye and shot shaping abilities, which you'll hear over and over this week. But that's kind of the gist of it. Accuracy, ball striking, bogey avoidance might be really big here. So anything else you got on this one?
Well, I saw a video. I think that it was a caddy posted about the greens, and so they've redone like the fringe area of the greens. They've just recently resodded it, and you can still actually kind of see the cuts of the sod. So they've been watering those areas a lot, and therefore the greens are getting a lot of water as well. So from what I've heard, the greens are going to play soft, and they're going to have to play soft because from what I also heard, is that they've almost burnt the greens up this year. Yep. So I think that's a very important factor, because traditionally when you think about a major, you think about hard, fast greens, and these greens are going to be soft. Therefore, guys are going to be able to throw, shots right at the pin. And so I think that's a huge factor. And other than that, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's pretty much a right to left golf course. If you see the hole by hole layout of this, it's really kind of boring, because it's just like really literally dog leg left, par 3, dog leg left, dog leg left. I mean, it's just weird that they set it up like that. I mean, I guess it's just how who knows? I'm not into golf course design, so I'm not gonna knock anybody, but one way or the other, it's just kind of a weird setup to me. But so I think that we will hear right to left ball flight draw, hook a lot this week, which will be interesting how that actually ends up playing out.
Yeah, it could be one of those weird non-factor but does factor into ownership type things where it's really not as big a deal as they're making it to be, but it affects it. Like, to me, like, we can kind of weather-wise, we can skip over weather. It's supposed to be pretty nice, warm for the most part. Keep an eye out, though. The Midwest does have some scattered showers from time to time.
Yeah, and it's supposed to rain a lot this week too, leading up to it. So that's another factor as far as the greens being a little bit softer.
But like key stats wise, it's like that's why people are talking ball flight. I'm more looking at just like last week where I want those accurate off the tee guys. I want the ball strikers that are really good with their irons, like the Kyle Stanleys of the world. I know Molinari let a lot of people down, but guys in those sense that actually can get up there, and even if they're 175 yards out, they have comfort, with a certain iron in their hands to go put it up on big greens and save pars, where other guys might try to bomb and gouge it. And if you're not playing the right shot track, you can get in some trouble real quick. Because I'm not joking. The picture I've seen of this rough is not good. Not good at all.
Yeah.
So it is definitely like a penalty shot or two. What are some of the key stats you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, just a lot of the same stuff that I usually look at. DraftKings points, tee to green. I think putting will matter this week. Proximity, sticking with the bogey avoidance, much like last week, because I mean, traditionally these are difficult golf courses. Scores don't really, generally speaking, get that low. I mean, there was a 20 under score at Whistling Straits in 2015, but the winning score here was 11 under when it was last played here. No, wait, 6 under. Excuse me. When it was last played here in 92. Obviously, the game's changed quite a bit since then. And the prize pool then was $280,000. That was the full pool. It's $1.8 million this week.
I would have expected that just to go to the winner this week.
Right?
the way these guys are getting it handed out these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it'll be a fun tournament.
No, for sure. Yeah. So and greens and regulation like usual. But yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting golf course. That's the thing about all these majors is we don't really know how these golf courses play because they move around so much. It's always different fields and they change them up, and so it's fun. But from a DraftKings point of view and like trying to predict it, it's really difficult.
Yeah, and that's what really stinks because I like, and people have listened long enough to know by now, I'm a big recent form and course history guy. I really like course history because you play golf enough, you get comfortable with a course and it fits you. And you know what, you can literally go up to a shot and you don't have to like look at a book or anything. It's like, okay, this, boom, I got it all figured. I've made this shot before. Like it all makes sense.
For sure.
Like,
definitely.
It just changes everything out there.
I played a golf tournament this weekend on a course that I literally play once a year, and I forget how difficult it is, and I can't judge the greens properly, and it's you get out of your comfort zone, and so you start thinking about other things, and it's just not like going up and pegging it on my normal golf course every day. I just get up there and don't even think about it and swing, and off we go.
Yep, you already know what club you need before you get to the tee box.
Right, exactly.
One of those things. You don't have to worry about it. Before we get into the DraftKings picks, as we usually do, let's talk a little fan share sports. Jesse will have stuff out there later this week, and they have a lot of other really, really good content out there, including their lineup generator that seems to be doing pretty well in its beta form still, but it might be time to take the leash off of that, it looks like, over the week. But we'll talk a little past history here. We'll talk last year's PGA Championship, and some of these guys might not be in the field, but I'm pretty sure they all are. Your top 10 last year in tags. I'm going to talk about tags. You had Rory McIlroy 1, Hideki Matsuyama 2, Berger 3, Ricky Fowler 4, Tony Finau 5, Brooks Koepka 6, Charlie Hoffman 7, Paul Casey 8th, Tomas Peters 9th, and Xander Schauffele was in there at they're T9, I guess, in theory. But when you talk about DraftKings points, it changed up a bit. JT only had 27 tags, but he led the way. Molinari had 15. Usti only had 10. The fifth guy, Graham DeLette, only had 3. Patrick Reed only had 3. Kisner 11. Jordan Smith 13. So a lot of low-tagged guys finished really well here when it comes to DraftKings. It just kind of shows you it's going to be one of those tournaments that the big boys can't get in trouble, and it'll definitely come back and bite you if you screw it up. Now let's talk real quick recent form, because we can't do too much past history because, again, last year's championship obviously wasn't here. It's just kind of a hindsight thing. But coming into this tournament, in the last 3 events, top DraftKings scorers in the field, this one might shock you. I'll give you one guess. Who do you think it is, Jesse?
I would say Dustin Johnson if I was guessing, but
Somehow he's not, and I'm not sure what I am missing here on this, but average DraftKings points over the last 3 events, Wee Kim at 100.5 DraftKings points on average. Joaquin Neiman second, Keegan Bradley third, Tommy Fleetwood fourth, Sung Soo Han is fifth, Molinari, Watney, Merritt, Sink, and Ryan Moore. DJ isn't even in the top 10. Not sure how that happened. Maybe because he missed the cut at the British. The only guess I have.
Yeah.
Now, if we talk last 6 events, as we get this to update here, then we get a little bit. No, still a little. No, DJ. There he is. Okay, last 6 events. Joaquin Neiman is still first, and this will be his first PGA Championship. But Dustin Johnson's now second, and then Han. That's Sing Soo Han is third. Stuart Sink is fourth. Wee Kim is fifth, still showing good. Justin Rose sixth. Tommy Fleetwood seventh. JB Holmes eighth. Molinari ninth, and Tiger Woods is still 10th. Even though he can't finish, he's still playing really, really well, averaging almost 70 DraftKings points per outing in the last 6 weeks. With that being said, Jesse, let's get this popping. Let's go into the DraftKings picks. We have 4 guys. I'm surprised it's only 4 this week, over $10,000. We got DJ leading the way at 11.4, McIlroy at 11,000, Spieth at 10.7, and Ricky Fowler at 10.2. Anything standing out to you there?
Yeah, I mean, the top 2 for me this week, that's pretty much where I'll starting in above 10K. I think there's a couple different things with Rory. Obviously, he's playing very well. Just can't close it out on the weekend. He's also traditionally, I think, a right to left ball hitter, so he does play a draw usually, which should suit him, and I'm sure we'll hear that plenty this week with. But the kind of the anti to that is Dustin Johnson, right? He hits a left to right ball flight. He's usually playing the baby fade. And so I think people potentially will overlook him. I mean, but in my rankings and my stats, dude, he's like number 1 in everything that I do. He had a really good weekend last week. I saw a quote from Kip, who caddies for Austin Cook, correct?
Yes.
He said, yep, Kip Henley, there you go. He said that he ran into DJ's brother, who's also his caddy, early Saturday morning. He's like, "What are you doing here this early?" He's like, "I don't know. I guess he's just a little tired, but he'll probably fire 10 under on the weekend." And he went 10 under on the weekend.
That's good.
So
That's good.
I just feel like Dustin Johnson, while this course maybe potentially doesn't set up the very best for him, he's still the number 1 golfer in the world. And if the notion continues that you have to play a draw on this golf course and the fade doesn't set up very well, then I think that, you know, I think his ownership could drop a little bit. And if I can grab, you know, DJ potentially at less than 20%, I'd be all over that. So far and away for me, DJ's number 1 play up here. I'll have 0 Spieth and I'll have 0 Ricky.
Yeah, I'm pretty much 100% on board with you. That DJ little hint there is pretty funny. I like that a lot. And when I talked about the course, I talked about being smart and stuff. You can still try to bomb and gouge it. He can try to hit it over the dog legs. Like, he's good enough to do that. Yeah. If he's just not accurate, he's going to pay dearly. But he's one of those guys, like, he's the ultimate GPP play here. He could run away with this one, or he could, you know, we could see a British Open all over again where he tries to get aggressive and it bites him in the ass. But I love him a lot this week. And then Rory, I wish Rory wouldn't have done so well last week, because this is kind of, you know, I wanted to like finish like top 15. That would have been so much better. But T6, T6 in it. I like him a ton this week at $11,000. If you have to go up top, I'm going to one of these 2. Again, with the field that we have, you could just go balanced, start in the 9,000s like we like to do. But I'm going DJ. I'm going Rory. Again, no Spieth for me. Ricky Fowler will continuously be too high owned to even think about playing, let alone him actually winning. So give me DJ, give me Rory. I'm with you. Let's drop into the 9,000s where we got Tiger Woods, Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, Francisco Molinari, John Rahm, and Jason Day. What's out to you here?
For me, I mean, there's so many names here. I mean, pricing is so soft. Obviously, it's a major, so you can almost do whatever you want to. I think there's really several plays in here. Justin Thomas, obviously, coming off a win, past champion of a PGA Championship. I think that's obviously something you want, is, you know, you guy who can win a major. Brooks, he played really well last weekend. He's kind of trending back up after a little bit of a lull. And then also to Justin Rose, the concern with him obviously is the back. Withdrew last week, but he rates out really well in the model. So I will probably play him and hope that other people are worried about the back issue. And then last but not least for me here, well, when I say last but not least, Tommy Fleetwood is definitely playable. I don't know what happened to him, but like he went so low on Friday and like his tilting that he backed it up. And then Franny, I don't know what to do with Franny. Did you said you didn't get to watch much of it? Like I watched a lot Thursday and Friday, and that was it.
Whenever I watched over the weekend, he wasn't in the picture. Let's just put it down.
Well, that's because he was playing early.
Yeah.
Like he started early both days, Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
He just looked worn out to me. And I mean, he still rates out very well on the obviously in all the stats, but he just looked tired and kind of disinterested. Maybe another major, this will pique his interest again. But I'm just not sure if I can really play him, to be honest. I don't know. I just didn't like his demeanor and watching him on Shot Tracker, a lot of the short shots, a lot of just not being able to get up and down for par. So John Rahm, I think's playable. Jason Day, he had a decent weekend last weekend too. So 9,000. I mean, that's a pretty ridiculous price for Jason Day. So I those two as well. But for me, like my favorite play probably of everybody up here at this point is going to be Rose, especially if people are worried about his back.
Yep, I feel you there. The couple that I'm looking at here is JT. This was where he won his major. He's coming off a win. That's the only problem is you don't see back-to-back winners very often. Right. But I think he's a very solid play here again at this course. But if not, I love Rose, like you're saying. I think people are going to be really worried about him. I don't think he's going to tee it up if he can't play. A lot of these guys really don't want to put a poor performance out there and hurt themselves even more. So if he pulled out of the Bridgestone, he's going to pull out of the PGA. I know it's a major and all, but I think he pulled out just enough to get ready for this week. So
I agree.
It'll be very interesting to watch her at $9,400 with Rose because he's caliber-wise in the $10,000 range. So,
well, he should be super chalky, too. I mean, at that price, he's going to rate out in everybody's stats. Their models are going to – so he technically should be pretty chalky, but the wrench of the back deal.
Yeah, if people get worried about it, it'll be very nice. If not, I'll pivot down to Tommy Fleetwood. I'm not going to go off that bandwagon. I will stay there. And he played great on Friday over the weekend. His just approach game was off. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. And that's not Tommy's style. So I'll go back to that will at 93. And last but not least, if you need to, keep an eye on Molly if you want. But I think, like you said, Jason Day, as tilting as he can be, as many negative things as we said about this man, for $9,000 for a guy that has played great in PGA Championships, again, different course. But he's coming in really good form at T10, T17, T12, his last three events. For $9,000, we'll take it. If he starts spraying it, we're in trouble, but it seems to have figured that out a bit. So $9,000 for the good Jason Day, I'll take that all day long. So yeah, I think that's a very soft price there that we can definitely exploit at that price point. So JT, Fleetwood, Rose, Day for me. Probably going to stick around the Day area, and hopefully Rose is healthy, but we'll see how that plays out. Let's go to the $8,000 range. You got Patty Reed, Matsuyama, Stenson, Noren, Sergio, Cantlay, Mickelson, Xander, Finau, Casey at $8,000, and Bubba Watson. Outside of Paul Casey, Jesse, who are you playing? Everybody's going to be playing Paul Casey.
I know, man. Like that price that's just such a stupid price for him. Like you've got to price him up in like the 87, 80. I mean, he should be right around the Matsuyama, Stenson, Noren area there. So, I mean, obviously he's going to be chalky. Probably going to be the highest owned out there, but I'll just eat it. I think Finau's playable at 8,100. Just scores a ton of DraftKings points. We talk about it every week. He's in the field. That's what he does. He makes a lot of birdies. He'll tilt you off with some bogeys every now and again, miss a couple 4-footers, and ruin his chances to win. But he'll still score a lot of DraftKings points along the way. And the only other one that I really am considering around here is Cantlay. He rates out pretty well as far as stats go. I don't know if he's ready to contend because he should, hypothetically speaking, he should be ready. But he's if you watch him play golf, it's just weird. Like his foot movement and it just can't hit the ball sometimes, especially if he gets close on Sunday or Saturday even. he starts to get real weird. So I'm not really sure on him, but I definitely like Finau and Casey. Other than that, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns in this region, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll start off with Patty Reed at $8,900. It is an unknown, but coming to majors, he shows up. That's one thing Patty Reed does. So
very true.
He can play smart. He takes these more serious than probably anybody out there, which is crazy to say. This is what he lives for. So Patty Reed at $8,900. I'll definitely take a little gander on that one. And then after that, I like the Cantlay call a lot. 84 is coming in really great. Agreed. He still might be a little wet behind the ears to finish it, but at $8,400, give me that top 10. I'll take it. That's fine. Go get that. And then Finau, I absolutely love. Absolutely love Tony Finau at $8,100 because just make the cut, like you said, points with the potential to, he can contend. We've seen him contend at majors and do his thing. So Finau at 81, absolutely love. And Paul Casey speaks for himself. That's just simple there. The good thing about the 88,000 there is you have Finau at 81. And then Bubba Watson, if for the shot maker people around the world, this will fit his eye too. So maybe it'll lessen Casey a little bit, but 8,000 is still pretty darn criminal.
Yeah.
Let's get into the $7,000 range, 7,500 and above. You got DeChambeau, Kuchar, Grace, Leishman, Usti, Simpson, Berger, Neiman, Peters, Scott, Binion, Keegan Bradley, ZJ, and Snedeker. It is a major field, and we're seeing where the bread's going to be buttered here in the 7K range. What do you like in 7,500 and above?
Yeah, this is a pretty good range, really. Kuchar starting out at 7,900. I do like him, and I will probably play him quite a bit. His stats are kind of weird over the last 24 rounds, but either way, I just feel like he just shows up in these types of events. And just looking back at last week too, he actually played pretty well. Just couldn't make a few putts. So I do like Cooch. Webb Simpson is another one at 7,700. He played pretty well last week. Joaquin Neiman is interesting to me because he's super high up in the model because he's scored a ton of DraftKings points, and I weight DraftKings points pretty heavily because it's kind of all-encompassing if you think about it. But either way, Joaquin Neiman at 7,600, I just don't know how chalky he will be and how popular of a play he will be in his first major. He's got a special exemption to be here, so he's interesting. I do like him. I don't know if I'll play him or not, though. Last but not least would be, for me, Keegan Bradley. His proximity numbers over the last 24 are really, really good. And he just rates out well as far as ball striking. And if the greens are slowed up, which they might be as far as not running super fast like you would anticipate at a major, that could bring the field back to him a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. What's your thoughts on Bryson at 79?
Did you see that interview with him and Tarico?
No, I did not.
So Tarico did an interview with him and basically asked him about what happened the week before, where he kind of just brushed the guy. It didn't, I saw the video. He didn't he just shook the guy's hand really quickly and took off, which I don't blame him. He took an 8 on the last hole to lose the. He was like, I learned from that. I want to do better. Blah 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 blah. And then he turns in a 74 or something on Thursday.
Yeah. But
he did come back a little bit. So I don't know, man. For me, he would be an ownership play only. So if he's not being touted very highly, I would like him a lot more than if he is.
Okay. Yeah, he's a GPP kind of guy. That makes it interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. I wouldn't play him in a cash game. No way, no how.
Yeah. All right. Some of the guys I'm looking at here, I do like Cooch quite a bit at $7,900. You kind of shot maker, coming with your irons, play that kind of boring game, but get you through. I like him at 79. Leishman is interesting at $7,800. A guy that plays these tournaments very, very well, coming off a T14 last weekend at the Bridgestone at 7,800. I do like the way his game's played of late. Webb Simpson, talking about ball strikers, and if he can keep that putter going the way it's been going this season, I think Webb at 77 can be very, very nice. Gets kind of overlooked in these big fields, and I kind of like that at $7,700 for Webb. I think he can be a fun play for you there. Binion's playing really well at 75. Keegan Bradley, I love that call at 75. I think it's a great spot for him. And then the last guy, I will keep playing him when they keep underpricing him, is Zach Johnson at $7,500. T17, T17, T16, T19, T12 his last 5 tournaments. That is called consistency, folks. That's what he does.
Good.
He's ball striking extraordinaire. He makes cuts. He does nothing flashy. Probably not going to win the event, but we've seen him contend at random events out of nowhere. He's won majors. ZJ at 75, he screams cash game and screams he should be in most lineups if you want that comfort factor. So I'll be looking at him quite a bit this week.
Yeah, with Leishman too, which is one thing on Leishman. He might be like a good first-round leader bet because it seems like he starts off really hot in these types of events and then like just makes some terrible bogeys. So if you're looking for maybe potentially, I don't play him myself, but it would make sense to me. So, and I don't mind Leishman, especially at that price at 7,800.
Yeah, I do like that quite a bit. Who are you looking at 7,400 or below? I'm not going to read off the laundry list.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Obviously, Ian Poulter. I don't really know what happened over the weekend. I looked back at some of his stats. Yeah, he just lost strokes everywhere, so he just lost the ball striking. But I don't know, man. I just feel like at 74, like I'll take a risk on that all day, every day with him at 74. Ryan Moore's interesting to me just because he is a good iron player. And his proximity numbers are really good over the last 24 too. So another guy who I would have some interest in at 7,400 there. Moving on down, 7,100, Kyle Stanley. I think he might be super chalky. So I'm not really super sure how much I'll have of him, but because he played really well last week, finished second. Now he's $7,100. So I think a lot of people will end up going to him. Another guy who I think is kind of interesting and should be low owned, and our former compadre would appreciate this, is Cam Smith. Yeah. I mean, if he was here, he'd really like that call. And he's been trending down, but has recently taken a kind of a back upward swing in his strokes gained total. And he actually performs pretty well on difficult courses, and I would most likely rate this out when it's all said and done as a difficult course, even if the greens are firm and fast or slow. So made the cut at the Open Championship, finished 23rd last week. So he's kind of coming back a little bit and will still be under the radar. So I think he's an interesting play at 7,100. So that would be kind of it for me in this range. Like I said, Stanley, I just don't know because he's going to be so chalky, but he's playing so well. So he'd probably be my favorite. And then Poulter, Ryan Moore, and again, Cam Smith.
I'm on some of those with you as well. Poulter at 74. Yeah, very, very tilting. Playing so well, looked locked in, Ian Poulter style. And then he still finished top 10. That's nothing to cry about, but he should have been top 5 easy. Like, he just fell apart completely. So I like him again this week at $7,400. Definitely on the list, the shorter list for me down here. GPP wise, I know he's been very, very tilting, but when he's on very well. Emiliano Grillo at $7,200 is a guy that kind of has my attention this week. I'm not sure why exactly, but I'm kind of hoping because he's been so chalky that people kind of get off of him, and he shows up this week. Could just be a total weird gut instinct, but he's too good to just be completely ignored down here at $7,200. Another guy, if you want shot makers and accuracy type guys, CH3 down here at $7,200. Another guy I like quite a bit in this price range. A few others, I do love Stanley, but I'm with you. I'm not playing a chalky Kyle Stanley. That is not happening at all. So I'll keep up with that. If he's like 15% or less, I'll be much happier. But I'm thinking he's in the 20s this week. I don't know about you.
I think he'll probably be the highest owned, definitely, of anybody below 8.
Yeah, because he's $7,100. It's basically a sub-7 guy,
right?
Who fits courses like this perfectly. So I like that a lot. But another guy that can kind of play the bombing game, has good approach games. Just, is the putter going to work? You might hate me for this, but Luke List at $7,100. He was in that stretch where he was knocking down tournament after tournament, knocking on the door. I think this is a good spot for him at this price point in the GPP. Not cash game safe, but GPP at $7,100 for Luke List is interesting. A couple other guys, if you want to really get down here without going too far into the 6s, but want to stay in the 7K. Danny Willett's coming in really good form, actually. T24, T19, T6. Not the greatest play in the world if you're kind of scared, but has that upside to contend at any of these tournaments at $7,000. And then Gary Woodland, we talked about it. He came out hot, struggled. He's playing pretty well again, and he's played pretty well in PGA Championships. Obviously not this course again, but $7,000 for a guy that's won on tour this year, can play with these guys at 7K. I can definitely get behind that as well.
I agree.
Let's jump into the 6K where we have quite a few guys, and I have 4 or 5 that I can look at. Not that I love, but I can look at. What are you looking at in the 6Ks?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of my lineup construction this week is going to be stars and scrubs. So I'm going to be dipping down here in the 6K range because I think there are a few very playable guys. Not necessarily my favorite, but Bo Hostler at 6,900 I think is playable. He's got some pretty good stats coming in. The 2 of my favorite plays. So I got pretty much 3 down here. My 2 favorites would be Brian Gay and Kevin Na. Now, Kevin had a really strong start and then just fell off completely, but he actually hit his irons very well last week. Just the putter kind of broke down, I believe, a little bit on him. Stuart Sink would be my next guy. He rates out really well on tough courses too, especially over like the last 12 rounds that he's played on one. So I do like Stuart Sink. Russell Henley's playable. We were talking about this in the Slack chat earlier. Thorborn Olsen. It'll be interesting to see his ownership because he's never highly owned ever. But like his strokes gain stats are like just taking off through the roof. So he's interesting. And I don't know if many, like your general public's not going to really have followed last week, see where he finished. So I think he's a pretty good play this week at 6,700. And man, I can't believe you mentioned my boy Seisu Han earlier.
I'm sorry.
6,400. No, I'm with you. I'm glad you guys mentioned him. I think he's playable. Ryan Armour might be too at 6,300. Not a huge fan, but I could definitely stomach that, especially at that savings. And anybody below him, I don't even hardly know half these people because there's a bunch of PGA Tour pros in this event, and it's a normal cut event, so most of those guys aren't going to get cut out. So I'll be interested to see 6-6 percentage too. But who you got in 6Ks?
In 6Ks, I'm going to go with the guy I've mentioned recently at this price point because he's got the upside and the ball striking ability, and that's Anibal Lahiri at $6,800. He's another guy never gets owned at all down here, and he's definitely can make cuts and compete with a guy like Kevin Na, who I do like at 68. But he can be a pivot off of that if you need to. But I do like Na. I agree with you there. And then Nick Watney as well at $6,800. He can be a pain in the rear end at times, but he can also just come out of nowhere, and he fits courses like this pretty well. So $6,800 for Nick Watney is another guy I like. You mentioned Olsen. Curious to see where that ownership comes out to. My boy Stewie's here at $6,700. You talked about him as well. Absolutely love him here. He's just a cut machine. You mentioned he plays tough courses as well because he's not stupid. He's an old guy that likes to just – He knows what he can do, and he doesn't try to do more than that. He hits it down the middle. He hits his iron shots. He plays for par. He doesn't try to do more than he can do, which a lot of these youngsters think they can do. So Sink at 67. And then the last one, he was cheap last week, I believe it was. And I think he's too cheap again this week just for the upside that he brings to the table. But Brendan Steele at $6,500 is another guy I can get behind down here if you need to punt pretty low. Good upside. He can hit that 3-wood with his driver as well. Reading a comment by Justin Thomas, he said the course is playing so dry might not be the right word, but as hot as it is, it's been making it faster that 3-woods can play just fine outside of drivers and still put yourself in positioning here. So something to think about there with Brendan Steele at 6,500. But that's kind of what I'm looking at there. Nothing too crazy, but ideally staying out of there. But roster construction, we'll see how that dictates everything.
One other guy, Austin Cook, I think is at 6,500. Yep. Some more price savings there. So, go ahead.
No, it's another good one to mention. There's a ton down here. It's actually pretty decent 6K range because of the field we are in. Let's get into kind of the more fine-tuning picks here as we've gone through all the price points. Let's talk punts. Give me like 1 or 2 main of the punts in that 6K range you're targeting.
Yeah, for me, it's Na and Gay. They're head and shoulders above the rest of these guys, in my opinion, besides Sink. So those would be my 2, Sink being the 3rd.
Yeah, I like that Brian Gay call. I had that actually written down. Not sure why I missed that. But my guys will be Lahiri and Sink will be my 2 guys. But I do like that Gay call as you mentioned him again. But Lahiri and Sink will be the ones I'll be going to if I have to punt. Okay, who are your busts of the week?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the easy one's Spieth, I think. But I mean, again, I think people keep hammering Ricky Fowler, and so he would be my bust. At 10-2, he's got a top 10 at least, top 5 preferably. So
Yep, I'm going Ricky. And if you don't like Ricky, want Tiger Woods. Just $9,900 for Tiger. I'm going to keep riding that wave. And then when people want to call me out, I'll ask how much you lost in the process. So, very simple here, people. Who's your core as we are talking on a Monday afternoon?
right, DJ. I think Rose will end up being in there too. And then, like I said, I'm going to be going heavy like stars and scrubs. So I'm going to try to get as many guys as I can above 9K, and then throw in the 6K guys. And most likely Kevin Na, Brian Gay will be in that discussion.
I like it. My core for now, just kind of in the mid-range here. I'm going Finau, Webb, and ZJ. That'll let me go high if I want to, or keep it balanced, gives me a little wiggle room both directions. But Finau, Webb, and ZJ are kind of where I'm starting things out this week. All right, who do you have winning the PGA outside of Dustin Johnson? Because we're all in agreement. We're all in agreement there.
Yeah, that would be my pick for sure.
This must be what it felt like when Tiger Woods was on his tear. It's like, okay, outside Tiger, who's winning this week?
Right. Well, I mean, do you remember the PTIs back in the day when they used to do that? Who you taking, Tiger or the Phil or Phil? Do you remember that? Yeah. Like on PTI, pardon the interruption.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I feel like it is this week. Even though I don't think that, like I said, I don't think the general public will be on him that much. So it will be interesting to see what his ownership comes in at and how highly touted he is. So besides Dustin Johnson, I'll go Justin Rose.
I like that a lot. Besides just Dustin Johnson, I'm looking at Jason Day.
Ooh, I like it.
And if I want to go really long shot, I like Tony Finau to finally finish one of these.
That'd be amazing.
He's been really close.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but Jason Day, I think, has a better shot than Finau, so we're gonna go that direction.
Yeah.
That's kind of the long shots there. All right. You got the Millie Maker on tap, some other big tournaments this week, Jesse. Any final thoughts, lineup building advice, things that people can maybe come and join us in the Slack chat and talk about this week? Anything else?
They can. We'll be in there. Me and you are always answering messages when we can in the Sports DJ and Slack. So if you want to invite or you want to hop in there, talk NFL is starting to go in there. NASCAR's rocking. Of course, MLB is always going this time of year. But no, as far as like, so getting back to what I was talking about with 6-6 percentage, I do think that it will be kind of high this week because you've got a good swath of PGA Tour pros who are not going to make the cut. So there's like, I think 40 or so of them in the field. It's full field, but you're still cutting down to 70. So I do think that you got to have the winner this week. And I think that you'll need 6-6 for any kind of big time money for sure. With probably most likely 2 or 3 in the top, top 5, top 10.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that pans out because the last few tournaments, the chalk's hitting, but at the same time, it's only like 10% 6-6s, which seems really weird.
It is weird. It is weird because I've looked at those numbers with FanShare, and it's like, how is this
so
many guys getting through, and people are still not getting 6-6, which is it's really strange. Because like over the last little bit, I think at least 15 of the top 20 owned have made the cut like week in and week out on average. It's just it's been a weird year, dude. And can you believe it's almost over with?
Yeah, that's the crazy part. I was sitting here trying to schedule stuff out for the next few months for some other things coming up, and I'm like, I always mark on the calendar Monday evenings AP, we're doing our podcast. And I sit there going, man, like I said earlier, playoffs are starting soon. That means we're gonna have our little break we had last year where we're like, okay, we have to relax for a couple of weeks before we do it again week in, week out. So it's crazy. We were just talking Safeway not too long ago, Jesse.
That's what I feel like. But we got the Ryder Cup coming up this year too, and then of course the FedEx Cup playoffs will be kicking off shortly too. So it'll be a hectic ending here. But summer. I mean, I can't believe summer's almost over.
It's going to be an awesome ending though because we're seeing so many guys playing great golf right now that it's going to be wild. It's not just like a 2 or 3 man race. It's going to be pretty freaking awesome.
I agree with that.
It should be fun. But until then, everybody, Jesse is on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. I am at BD Intric, and the podcast is at Always Press DFS. Go check out all the work over at thesportsdgens.com as Jesse has his weekly article there and much other PGA, baseball, all kinds of stuff over there. So go check all that out, and go check out Fanshare Sports. Lots of great stuff going on there. But until then, we'll catch you guys next time. This was the 2018 PGA Championship DraftKings preview. See you guys later.